So when it comes down to symptoms versus function, remembering our definition of health, okay, that we're talking about a complete state of physical, mental, and social well-being. A lot of times, if you think about, perfect example, the perfectly healthy guy who drops dead of a heart attack at 45, okay, was not perfectly healthy, okay? We all, people will say, I don't understand. He ate well, he exercised all the time, and, how could this happen? Well, a lot of times there's things going on under the surface that we don't see. If we don't have symptoms, a lot of us think that, everything's hunky-dory, everything's okay. A lot of times there's things going on underneath the surface that we don't see or feel, okay? And that's important to know. And that's why we're always trying to take care of ourselves the best that we can, regardless of how we feel. And that's why, most people, we think of health as being, how we feel, whether we feel good or bad. But it's really a lot more than that, because how we feel is not always the best judge of what's really going on underneath, okay? And I always say the iceberg story, people will say something is the tip of the iceberg, which really means, and that's actually what we have on the whiteboard this week, if you saw that getting adjusted. The tip of the iceberg is, a lot of times there's a lot more going on under the surface than we can see or feel, okay? And that's really what it's referring to. Same thing like the guy with the heart attack. That happens sometimes with, unfortunately, with cancer. Someone will say, Sam, I have, been having these headaches lately. Well, by the time you have a headache, if you've got a brain tumor, that thing's a pretty large size. We don't feel it for a long time. It doesn't mean that we were perfectly healthy. That was still there, but we didn't feel it until it got to a certain point, okay? I know these are things that we don't want to think about, but this is what, those are examples that are easy to understand. The same thing happens with so many other things. A lot of people come in with back pain, and they'll say, oh yes, this just started 2 days ago. I started with this back pain, and I'm looking at x-rays with, degenerative osteophytes, reaching down. I'm like, I can guarantee you this has been going along a lot more. And you may have only felt it, the symptoms were only for 2 days, but it takes years for those things to form. And that's the thing. A lot of times if we don't feel it, we don't know there's anything to do anything about, so we don't get it taken care of. So it's always important to look at how we're functioning, not just how we're feeling. And then on the flip side of that, how do we deal with it? We can fix the problem or cover it up. And there are many shades of gray in between, okay? These are just the extreme ends. Now, when I say fixing the problem versus covering it up, I like to use a great example, which unfortunately is a very good friend of mine. My friend, when we were back in undergrad, okay, every day she would suffer from migraine headaches, okay? Every day she would take Excedrin migraine, and her headache would go away, okay? And we'd go and study all night. But after a while, I was like, don't you think you should get that checked out? I mean, every single day, if this is going on every day, there could be a problem underneath, God forbid, you could have a brain tumor, okay? You might need glasses, or maybe there's something that you're eating, or maybe you need to go to a chiropractor, maybe your neck's misaligned. There's got to be something going on for you to be having headaches every day. And just, here you are taking the Excedrin migraine, yes, it goes away, but if you have a headache the next day, obviously there's still a problem there. And if you're ignoring it, it could be getting a lot worse. Well, unfortunately, it took her years to actually get it checked out. But sure enough, besides, thank goodness, besides the brain tumor, it was pretty much all the above, okay? It turns out she needed glasses, okay, and had for several years. Her computer that she worked at, if you have a computer that's 10 or more years old, it's like the screen almost flickers at you. All right, yeah, she had one of those screens that was like flickering, and of course she would do her work like at night and just be looking at the computer in a dark room with that flicker, right, with needing glasses. So I mean, that's a recipe for a headache right there. Turns out her neck was a mess. She'd been in a bunch of car accidents, none of them her fault, but she had terrible reverse curve in her neck and a lot of misalignment. So she started getting adjusted. She was addicted to Diet Coke, okay, which has artificial sweeteners in it, which are known for causing headaches, things like that. But I feel like there was something else too. I mean, this is an extreme example, but I use it because this is somebody I know, you know, and I know that this happened to her. But that's just a really good example of fixing the problem versus covering up. She could have gone on taking Excedrin migraine forever while her eyes are deteriorating, okay, her neck is deteriorating, you know, eating foods that totally disagree with her, on and on and on, and just getting rid of her headache by taking medication, which of course could end up having side effects too. So it's really, you know, the point is that we want to make sure whenever possible that we can get to the cause of the problem and take care of that instead of just getting ourselves to not feel it, okay? And that's the difference. And like I said, there's so many shades of gray in between. It's not necessarily one or the other. There are times, okay, here's a great example too. Let's say you have a root canal, okay? You know what the problem is. You know why you have pain. Does that mean, you know, that it's wrong to, you know, take something to cover up that kind of pain? You know, no, that's very different. You know what the problem is, and you know what's causing your pain, and you may need some help to get through it. And, you know, that's a different story, all right?